Guys, I would just like to tell you that you guys are the most incredibly supportive fandom that I've ever had the privilege and the honor, both the privilege and the honor of creating content for. The response this YouTube channel has recently been receiving is nothing short of overwhelming for me. I can't believe that so many wonderful people have chosen this YouTube channel as their favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel. I know there's a girl out there today saying, "What are you talking about, Jonathan Clarke? We've loved you for forever. We've always been subscribed to you. We're never going anywhere. We're never going away." I know, but I've always had this emotional connection with every fan of Descendants of Zombies for some unknown reason. And I think it's because of just how supportive you guys are of everything that I've done. I've never been supported as much as this, and I never will be again. What I'm experiencing now, I know I will never have the chance to relive. And it's because of just how emotionally connected I've been with all of you. I've loved sharing these stories about Red and Chloe and Bridget, who's obviously held a very special place in my heart for a very long time. I can't even begin to tell you how special of a place Bridget has always had in my heart for just how genuinely sweet the girl was. That was one thing I noticed about her that jumped out about her immediately to me, was just how kind she was. Her exemplification of kindness is what I've always wanted to be to everybody I've ever surrounded myself with, and I've become a better person because of what she taught me. And that's why she became my favorite Descendants character, along with many other people who were fans of Descendants of Zombies. No matter who we were, we all had a favorite character. We all had a favorite moment that brought us to the moment where we thought of being a fan of Descendants of Zombies is just simply cool. And it's been live, die, and breathe by Descendants of Zombies for many of us. And I've really had the time of my life creating this content, so much relatable content for so many wonderful people, which I never imagined would have had such an incredible reach. There are people subscribing to this YouTube channel every day. I have no idea why. Perhaps it's because of how I could tell the story and how I believe in the story with really all of my heart. And I can never seem to say thank you guys enough. I know I must sound like a broken record to many of you, but I know that without you, I wouldn't be here and this YouTube channel would have never happened. I know for many of us, it's to send us zombies or go home. And I always wanted to create the best videos that I possibly could. Just last night I renewed my subscription to Disney Plus, and my 65-inch plasma TV has been blowing up with reliving zombies and rewatching Descendants because I want to give you the best reviews. Because I thought performances of Stan by Meg Donnelly were beautiful. I thought performances of Someday were absolutely gorgeous. I thought the very first ballad that Dove Cameron ever recorded for Descendants, called If Only, was really a standout performance that really defined what the character Mal was really going to be about. This beautiful love story between Zed and Addison, how a girl could fall in love with a zombie and actually find love that she wanted to last for forever, along with these moments that many of us never wanted to say goodbye to, never wanted to let go of. I myself have felt the same way, and I've felt more than honored and privileged to bring these moments to life for so many wonderful people. You know, I never imagined this YouTube channel would have seen 100 subscribers, much less 500, which eventually became 1,000, which expanded to 2,500 and beyond. This YouTube channel obviously expands to the galaxy and beyond, because I've often heard people refer to this as the Descendants of Zombies world. This is something much bigger and far greater than a world. This is a galaxy that we are a part of, and we've had the chance to be a part of something so special because there are far more fans of Descendants of Zombies out there than ever given credit for, and I've always wanted to remember you guys, along with honor you for being fans that you've always been. You have been with me. Some of you have been with me from the very first video that was ever uploaded here, when I shared my story with the world about how I was a fan of Descendants of Zombies, and how I always wanted to go above and beyond, more than any other content creator ever had, revolve their content around Descendants of Zombies for you and because of you. Because the one thing I've often referred to this YouTube channel for having been is a YouTube channel that we created together. I never thought this YouTube channel would have seen as many subscribers as it did, or so many people would have fallen in love with this content, but it's been so fun for me. I feel like I've been on a journey for what feels like forever, pretty much my entire life. My very existence revolves around Descendants of Zombies. It's almost as if I fell down through a rabbit hole, and I've been telling the stories of Alice in Wonderland and Cinderella ever since I could remember. And it has a lot to do with how I've been a fan of these classic tales ever since I was probably 5 years old, ever since I could talk and knew what Disney was and knew who he was and knew his story. I wanted to bring this story to life in ways that could touch the hearts of thousands of people. And I know 95% of my audience are pretty much all girls, and I've honored that. And I've respected that because I think that when you realize what your niche falls with under and how your niche appreciates these characters, you too can find time in appreciating these characters. Because I've heard people talk about the fashion of Red and Chloe. I've heard people about them changing up the outfits and the presentation of these characters. It's really a coming of age sci-fi kind of realm that we are in. And as we describe it as a coming of age sci-fi kind of realm, we're seeing these stars reach a point of maturity. Really coming of age, coming into their own, and we're seeing them evolve. I often use this story about how my English teacher one day in the middle of class told me to think of a word to describe this situation. I think it was for the book either Dracula or Romeo and Juliet. And the one word that came to mind was evolve. Because that's what's happening. We're scoping a future. We are carving legacies, and we're seeing these stars evolve into something far greater than we ever imagined possible. I think every girl out there loves Cinderella. I think that every girl out there loves Snow White. Even though there have been girls that have told me that Disney princesses pretty much get on their nerves, I know that not everybody is the same, but I think that no matter who you are, you all have a favorite Disney princess who could have been Ariel, who could have been Cinderella, who may have been Sleeping Beauty. And that's what makes these stories so beautiful, is that we can share these stories with everybody. And people can relate to these stories because they may be a fan of the same princess or be a fan of a princess that's never really talked about a whole lot. I can remember back in 1995, I think it was, let me confirm the year. Hey Google, when was Disney's Pocahontas released? I think it was in 1995.
In the United States of America, Pocahontas was released on June 23rd, 1995.
There you go. Jonathan Clarke is half vampire. He remembers all the dates. June 23rd, 1995. And you know something? That princess, that one princess's story about the colors in the wind and stuff is never really talked about enough. So when you hear about a girl who loves Pocahontas, you can't help but tell the story about how Pocahontas was one of the first Disney movies that you ever watched, or one of the first Disney video games that you ever played. Because I've often talked about this era where Disney would release video games from their most successful franchises, which have often resonated with me, that I've loved so much. I've heard people like Ruby Rose Turner talk about how their favorite Disney princess was always Rapunzel, for just Rapunzel's appreciation for life. And that was something I always took away from retelling these stories, because if I couldn't tell my own version of these stories for what they were worth, I didn't want to be a part of them. I thought that Zombies was a gorgeous franchise. I thought Descendants was incredibly beautiful. Both the past cast and this new cast have really done an exceptional job bringing it to life. So because they've done an exceptional job bringing it to life, they've never deserved criticism. I think people who criticize them pretty much have nothing else better to do with their individual lives. And if you actually sit back and think about how far these stars have come and what they've evolved into, it is really something spectacular, and I've really marveled in that. I have had such an appreciation for your favorite stars. I've loved every moment being a part of it, and I've loved you for being here. And that's something that you guys have always got to remember about me. If there's one thing I'm going to leave behind, is this emotional connection I've had with every single one of you, where I've often encouraged you to pick up that one doll that you've had eluded your collection for forever when it comes to collecting Descendants and Zombies dolls, or that one hoodie that you've always wanted to wear and never take off. Who cares about the price of it? You're only going to live once. And I think that people who criticize the merch have never really wanted to give it much of a chance. They're always updating it. And why do you think they change the hairstyles and the outfits of the characters? They change the outfits and the hairstyles of the characters so they can update the dolls. I'm going to let you in a little something. Mattel, who I've known for years, Mattel used to produce the wrestling action figures years ago. And when some of my friends were getting wrestling action figures created themselves, which I felt very envious of because I always wanted my own action figure because I was a journalist and I never had the chance to have one. Mattel does a really good job. Let me tell you something about Mattel. Mattel always does a really good job with creating action figures and dolls and teddy bears based off of successful franchises such as Descendants of Zombies. That's something I've come to know about Mattel for forever. So if they have a chance of making Kylie Control's character Red look far more beautiful than people ever imagined, they're going to. They're going to take thousands of visuals. They're going to do the whole scanning process and scan Kylie Control's body to make these dolls look really, really cool. I remember years ago when they used to develop the wrestling games and they would do these digital scans of wrestlers' bodies and stuff, and it was so cool. And, I think that these are moments where you're really achieving legacies for yourself, and that's something they've always wanted to be a part of. So I think that when we hear about the Mattel deals and the deals with the video game Fortnite and the partnerships, I can't help but find time appreciating that because I was always a huge video gamer. And I always wanted to be a part of it. I always wanted to be a video game character. I always wanted to be a character in Descendants and be a Prince Charming and wear the blue jacket like Ben, Mitchell Hope. I think this cast will never ever be forgotten, and so they shouldn't. I think that they've had a huge impact on so many wonderful people. So many wonderful lives have been changed because of Descendants of Zombies, because no matter who we were, we all took something special away from their stories. We saw something special in the original stories and tales of Mal and Evie and their friendship being put on display for the first time ever in 2015. On that night, where were you? I was sitting at home. I watched Descendants for the first time after being encouraged to watch Descendants because so many people had seen it ever before I did. I had been a fan of pretty much every aspect of Disney, and then Descendants kind of just happens for me because girls were showing up at my door every year on Halloween trying to convince me to watch Descendants. I think they wanted me to create a YouTube channel a long time ago. And when I finally got around to doing it, and I pretty much invested all of my money, every cent I ever had, into a Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel, which I took great pride in creating for all of you. I never imagined that this YouTube channel would have exploded in popularity the way that it has, but I have all of you to thank for that, because you've been with me for forever. People comment all the time telling me how much they love these videos. Again, I have no idea why. Probably it's because a guy sits down and he talks about Descendants of Zombies with all of his heart. I really don't know, but I've honestly had the time of my life because it allows me to relate to you. Because I've heard so many people try to talk about Descendants of Zombies and never really hit it home. In order to really talk about Descendants of Zombies and bring it home, you've got to really strike a chord, if I could, with every fan of Descendants of Zombies, which includes both understanding and respecting them for the people that they are. And I've taken great pride in being able to do that. I think there is a certain value and a certain pride that comes with talking about these stars and sharing in their stories with all of you. And if you can bring that to life, if you can trigger somebody's emotions out there who may be watching your video, who's going to find your channel and click on your thumbnail, obviously, then there is a lot of pride, a whole lot of pride to take away with you and take away from what you're talking about, because you only ever have so many opportunities to really bring these moments to life. Like, I remember years ago when Frozen was a concept that had first been introduced to us, and we all fell in love with it. We all fell in love with the idea of a snowman wanting to embrace a warm hug, or carrots falling out through the back of his nose, and Kristoff and Elsa and Anna and their beautiful sisterhood that we experienced for the first time ever. And I remember being captivated by Frozen, being left in a state of amazement. And if there was one guy out there that was going to talk about Frozen and say anything nice about it at all, it was going to have to be this guy. So many people love Disney with all of their hearts, and there are people out there who love Disney with all of their hearts who have never admitted to you that they love Disney with all of their hearts. But again, that's what makes what I do as a YouTuber so worth it every single time, is knowing that I can resonate with people every single time that I ever push record, maybe never knowing what I'm about to say. But again, that's what makes me be able to do this at only 9:07 a.m. in the morning, is because I know that people out there love Disney with all their heart. And I think that if you can create relatable content, that's what brings it home for you every single time. That's what really strikes a chord with every fan of Descendants of Zombies. Because no matter who you are or who your favorite character is, I don't have to know you to know whether or not you're a great person. I've never had to decipher that. Because I know that every fan of Descendants of Zombies is so kind, is so generous, is so appreciative of the content that is created. The only thing that I see issues with is there are far too many people out there who have never wanted to give this a chance and who simply never say thank you for how much you've meant to this franchise. So I want to take it upon myself to take this opportunity, this chance if I could, to say from my heart to yours, thank you for always showing up, thank you for always being here, and most of all, most importantly, thank you for being you. And why do you think I say that? It's because I know, and you know, that there's only ever going to be only one you. And you only ever have so many chances to make your dreams come true, and that's all I've ever wanted you guys to achieve, is to see your dreams come true, to get to that pivotal point where everything happens for you. And I think by offering just a little extra boost of encouragement, that can happen for anybody who may be watching these videos. No matter what anybody thinks of you, or no matter what may be going on in your life, I've always wanted you to know that everything is going to be okay, because we are going to experience the premieres of Descendants 5 and Zombies 5 together. We're going to get there together, and more of our questions that have been left unanswered, seemingly left in the dark, will become more clearer, and we will have the answers we are searching for, and we will together. Because there's no better way to experience Descendants and Zombies than by experiencing this together. From wherever you hear my voice or maybe watching this video this morning, thank you so much for being the fans of Descendants and Zombies you've always been. Thank you so much for having a special place in your heart for Descendants and Zombies and allowing me the chance to be a part of it. And thank you so much for having always watched these videos.